Hello and welcome. In this concluding episode of the Sub-Regional Seminar and Meeting of the Standing Committee Number 1 on Trade and Transportation of the Union of African Shippers Councils, we bring you submissions from a wider range of participants. Remember, the focal point of the seminar is the all-important African Continental Free Trade Area and the need to plan and strategize properly amongst regional member states on how to most effectively position for advantage. Our tidbit segments will also feature as usual with updates from the international maritime scene. Meanwhile, let's take a short break while you get comfortable.
For more than 5 decades, we have empowered and protected the interests of shippers in the nation's maritime industry. Our focus is to facilitate trade, regulate tariffs and rates, as well as handle shippers' complaints on cargo losses, damage and non-delivery. We offer dispute resolution mechanism for shipping and trade disputes between shippers and service providers. We are Nigerian Shippers Council, Nigeria's port economic regulator, your gateway to a thriving maritime sector. Nigerian Shippers Council will meet you at the port of your need.
Welcome back. You are watching The Shipper, your go-to program for in-depth information featuring goings-on in the global maritime sector, proudly brought to you by Nigerian Shippers Council, the nation's port economic regulator. I am Victoria Yavala. In the first part, we heard from the Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, the Executive Secretary and CEO of Nigerian Shippers Council, and several key stakeholders who emphasized collaboration, innovation, and infrastructure development for after implementation. We shall now continue by handing the ropes over to Lucy Yambi to present our correspondence reports.
The 2-day seminar featured presentations from seasoned resource persons with vast experience in the maritime sector as they shared their expertise and insights on the role of shippers' councils in implementing the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement. The discussions focused on readiness of countries in West and Central Africa and the ways in which shippers' councils can contribute to the successful implementation of the agreement. In her presentation, Mrs. Dabney Shalholma, Chairperson Sea-Link Implementation Committee, spoke on the long-standing relationship between her organization and Nigerian Shippers Council. She urged West African countries to catch up with their counterparts in Central Africa in the area of improving facilities to enhance trade facilitation.
It's been 5 years or over 5 years since the adoption of AFTA. Yet, we have not seen tremendous progress in goods moving from country to country. But Ghana surprised us last year by the first shipment beginning of cosmetics. And why was it shipped? I don't want to know, but I know that there is market for cosmetics all over Africa. There is market for cosmetics in Cameroon, especially in West and Central Africa. And there is also market for cosmetics in Northern Africa. So, but that shipment demonstrated that it's doable. We can trade, and we have started trading. A lot of other individuals have started shipping, but not at the level that we would want that to happen. Our major drawback is the lack of connectivity. We don't have vessels, and that's why my heart goes out to the president of the African Ship Owners Association. We don't have boats that will carry our cargo, and we kept on saying African cargo in African ships, African ships for African cargo. This is a key concern raised by shippers' councils, and shippers' councils driving this point, and they have taken it even in Nigeria, the Federal Executive Council in years gone by. And I'm sure the present structure of shippers' council will do the same. We have to drive this home. We cannot continue to put our cargo in other people's bottoms. They will take it to somewhere else and do a lot of transshipment, and there will be delays, there will be delay times, and there will be demurrages, and then we will lose business because we do not have the inventory to start railing out. We are a small developing nation. So whatever cargo we are able to consolidate, we want it shipped, sold, and money returned back into the economy. That is not happening. And it is because we don't have maritime connectivity.
Dr. Muda Yusuf, the immediate past Director General of Lagos Chambers of Commerce and Industry, LCCI, and currently the founder and CEO of an NGO, in his slide presentation, discussed the requirements for a successful implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area, stressing private sector involvement and supportive policies for regional competitiveness.
We know that trade plays a vital role in the economies of West and Central Africa, but the cost of moving goods across borders remains one of the highest in the world. Businesses often face delays at ports and borders, multiple checkpoints, high transport costs, and cumbersome paperwork. So these challenges, of course, reduce competitiveness of local industries. It increases their cost of imported items and discourages investment. Improving trade facilitation, that is making it easier, faster, and cheaper to move goods across borders, can help create jobs, boost regional trade, and support growth. The reality is that for now, the bulk of the connectivity and trade flows are by road, the bulk of it. Of course, we have situations where it will move from the coastal areas to the landlocked countries, but largely, road plays a major role in connectivity. So why trade facilitation matters? It reduces time and cost of moving goods. It encourages regional trade and investment. It creates better opportunities for businesses, especially small and medium enterprises. It helps government to collect more revenue more efficiently, because it's actually not all the time that there is a conflict between trade facilitation and revenue generation. If you have trade facilitation, it enhances the turnover of business. It enhances the turnaround of transaction, of vessels. It reduces the dwell time. And all of these things encourages more volume of trade. And if you have more volume, we have more revenue eventually.
Ms. Adora Nwonu, Deputy Director, Trade Services Division, Nigerian Shippers Council, spoke emphatically of the need for synergy amongst West and Central African countries. She also spoke on the need for the use of technology for many aspects of trade facilitation and identity management, as this will allow citizens from other countries trade in Nigeria and vice versa.
It's very important that West and Central African economies under this union needed steps to address bottlenecks, confront those challenges, ensure their systems are aligned, there's harmonization across, different countries, because that is the only way we can also strengthen what the Continental Trade Agreement, should be achieving. So I'll look at it this way. At the level of the Shippers Councils, you ask yourself, are we speaking to one another? Are we exchanging information as we need to should, or are we competing amongst ourselves? Quite rightly, the AfCFTA is about export competitiveness. But to achieve the overall vision of the crafters of this agreement, it means that the various economies in this region must speak to one another. We must take some, aligned steps, towards making it work. Now, something like identity portability, that is one thing we haven't even looked at. So somebody who is in Ghana or Congo comes here, how easy is it for him to fit in and trade even while he's here? You hear what happens to some of our brothers in Ghana. It's the same thing. So we have to take those needed steps. Shippers councils are the ones who should ensure that countries are able to improve when it comes to not just infrastructure, but needed, policies to propel trade to happen across the region. That way, a Nigerian manufacturer or trader can ship his goods in a very cost-effective and efficient manner and compete with the person in Abidjan. But if the conditions here are so rigid and the bottlenecks are all, plenty, he's not going to be able to compete. And it's just one single market. So this is a call to action for all of us, the union, countries in this union, is a call to action because we must succeed under the AfCFTA. And harmonizing policies, like the speaker said earlier, electronic platforms. So while we want to improve, every country has one platform, but is it interfacing with each other? How is it speaking? Because it's only when it interfaces that you can achieve the overall good. But if every country has one platform sitting within its domain, and yet your traders and shippers find it difficult to ship across your borders, then you haven't done anything, you haven't solved the problem. So we also have to look at the fact that if those policies, infrastructures, we enable are not making trade more effective, more efficient, simpler, and quicker, then it might just amount to a waste of resources. So this is a call to action for everybody under this region.
Mrs. Ife Okolwe, the Director, Consumer Affairs Department, Nigerian Shippers Council, paid glowing tribute to all contributors as she summarized the topics and areas of discussions, deliberations, and suggestions. She assured that all areas would be looked into to achieve desired results. Her vote of thanks was rounded off with a call to member countries of the Union of African Shippers Councils to host subsequent meetings.
Supporting the establishment of trade information desks at key border corridors and inland dry ports. 3. Developing regional trade information portals in collaboration with customs, port authorities, and chambers of commerce. 4. Building capacity for small-scale traders on digital trade procedures. 5. Facilitating dialogue among land-linked and coastal member states to ensure smooth transit arrangements. Union African Shippers Council Standing Committee, number 1, can further strengthen collaboration among member councils towards harmonized digital trade facilitation measures in support of AFTA objectives. Thank you for all that we've shared, the experiences that we've shared. We have learned new things from our various member states. And I also believe that there'll be a lot of improvement from the experience that we've gathered today, that when next we meet, would have improved on what we learned today. And if we add also our ideas from what we gathered from the seminar, I think what we discussed here, will play a great role in the implementation of AFTA. So we'll take back what we have learned to our people, especially those SME, to encourage them to go into exports and to be compliant to the rules of AFTA. Then as we go back to from what we've learned from all the member states, we try as much as we can to ensure that arbitrary charges are being reduced, and also the issue of this introduction of new nomenclatures by shipping lines. We should be able to negotiate with our shipping lines and to ensure that they don't just wake up every day to introduce new charges that will affect our shippers. I really want to say thank you very much for your attention, for your contributions, and for the experiences shared as we look forward to the meeting of Lome.
The Executive Secretary and Chief Executive Officer, Nigerian Shippers Council, Dr. Pius Akuta MON, in an interview with the shipper correspondent, hammered on 3 key aspects which need to be properly tackled to smoothen the path for shipping and shippers on the African continent.
As Shippers Council, we have identified connectivity problem as one of the major areas that the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement may fail in implementation, because we are not ship-owning nations within the context of African Continental Free Trade Area. Most countries are not ship-owning, so we depend on the foreign ship to move our cargo. So connectivity is an issue. You will see speaker after speaker, this issue was highlighted. Unless we begin to think and look inward. During the shipping week in London, where the Honorable Minister was there with us, the African Roundtable, this issue of connectivity was also discussed. So it's a major challenge for African countries to begin to look inward to see how we can, if it means that we can develop our own shipbuilding facilities and begin to build ships so that we progress like every other country has done. And investment in that sector is very huge. So we keep on depending on foreign ships. And you see the difference between foreign ship owners and the indigenous ship owners that the Nimerex presented during the her intervention. But if we're talking about AFTA regime under the African ship owners, it's a different ballgame. But when you talk about foreign ship owners, there's no serious measure of control that we can exert over them. Although we have the regulatory authority, which we have been invoking over the time to deal with issues of arbitrary increments in tariffs and charges. As the port economic regulator, our concern is to drive efficiency in the sector. That's the major concern that we have, to drive efficiency. Once efficiency across board is driven to a point that automation becomes the way to go for all players in the industry. Systems are automated in such a way that they shake hands with each one. Then the issue of efficiency will be easy to tackle. But as long as we continue to, engage human contacts from one platform to the other, so many multiple areas of contact, it is hampering efficiency. We need to automate our systems, not only from the public sector view, but also from the private sector. And I'm bold to say that the private sector is doing well in terms of automating their processes. And we in government also are doing our best. You look at this national single window, which you mentioned here. It's one platform that will reduce human contact and will create more efficient processes. Harmonize the processes into one single fuse window where everybody operates in there. And that is why we are all committed to the national single window implementation, as much as the president has set up the committee which is driving it, headed by the chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. So this is where we are, and we're making progress. I believe that tremendous progress has been made so far, but we still need to make more progress as we go.
It was on this note that the meeting ended. Brilliant ideas, innovative approaches emerged. The next stage is the implementation of all these in member states. As was reiterated, Africa will not be built from outside, but by the sweat and toil of Africans in Africa.
The importance of the African Continental Free Trade Area is such that you can be sure we will keep our lenses focused on it to report as things progress. Let's now join Maria Uwekule, who is standing by on our tidbit segments.
Hello and welcome. You are tuned into this week's segment of Tidbits on the Shipper. I am Maria Uwekule, bringing you top maritime stories and industry insights. Let's get started. A multi-stakeholder roundtable has been held to discuss strategies to strengthen Nigeria's agricultural value chain and boost the nation's agro-export competitiveness. The forum brought together representatives from the agricultural, financial, logistics and export sectors, including the Nigerian Shippers Council. Speaking at the event, Uyo Port Officer Mrs. Molly Asanga highlighted the Council's role as the port economic regulator and trade facilitator. She explained that the NSC supports agro-exports by improving logistics efficiency, advocating supportive policies and working with agencies such as NEPC, Customs, NAFDAC and SON to remove bottlenecks in export processing. Mrs. Asanga noted that the Council also trains farmers and exporters on documentation, packaging and quality standards while facilitating the development of export processing terminals and inland dry ports to reduce export costs. She participated in a panel session on developing agribusiness and improving farmers' access to funding. The meeting ended with recommendations for easier access to agricultural credit and continuous capacity building for farmers. Stakeholders reaffirmed commitment to building a resilient and competitive agribusiness sector capable of supporting national economic diversification and global trade growth. In another development, the Nigerian Shippers Council, in its effort to strengthen collaboration with stakeholders and enhance service delivery in the maritime sector, the North Central Zonal Coordinating Office (JOS) recently paid a courtesy visit to the Nigerian Export Promotion Council (JOS) Plateau State. The zonal coordinator, Dr. Jeremiah Okoliko, led the team in a meeting with the regional coordinator, Barrister Juliet Umuoke. The regional coordinator expressed her delight at the visit and promised to continue referring exporters who require the services of the Nigerian Shippers Council. This visit marks another step towards enhancing collaboration and promoting economic growth in the region. We encourage you to follow our social media pages at NG Shippers on Facebook, Instagram, X and YouTube for more of our latest updates, events and information. Let's take a look at our complaints register for the week. Nigerian Shippers Council has received 4 complaints, 2 resolved and 2 ongoing cases. These cases include cases of damaged cargo, economic sabotage, outrageous billing and detained cargo. Now, let's switch our focus to our international maritime news. The Suez Canal Authority says it is recording its highest vessel return rate since the regional crisis began in late 2023. This was disclosed during a meeting with representatives of 20 major shipping lines held to review the developments in the Red Sea region. Between July and October, cargo tonnage through the canal rose by 10% compared to the last year, although the number of ships increased slightly by 2%. Indicating larger vessels are now transiting. CMA CGM has recently tested 2 large vessels through the canal and plans to increase voyages. Other major carriers including Hapag-Lloyd, NSC, Evergreen and COSCO say they are prepared to resume normal routes once regional security improves. However, high marine insurance costs remain a key obstacle to full return of traffic, according to shipping agency representatives. That concludes this week's edition of Tidbits on the Shipper. See you again next week with more details from the maritime world.
For more than 5 decades, we have empowered and protected the interests of shippers in the nation's maritime industry. Our focus is to facilitate trade, regulate tariffs and rates, as well as handle shippers' complaints on cargo losses, damage and non-delivery. We offer dispute resolution mechanism for shipping and trade disputes between shippers and service providers. We are Nigerian Shippers Council, Nigeria's port economic regulator, your gateway to a thriving maritime sector. Nigerian Shippers Council will meet you at the port of your need.
Our hourglass has once again finished spilling its content, signaling our arrival at anchor points. As this journey comes to an end, we assure you of our vessel's seaworthiness. Thus, we look forward to you joining us again. Our social media handles at NG Shippers are available for any contacts. Wishing you fair winds, calm seas and blue skies. Do have a swimmingly great week ahead.